Good morning, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get ourselves started with the PSE Ready webinar to support the use of PSE Ready tools. I see that you all are joining, so we are really happy that you were able to attend today's webinar to teach you how to use the PSE Ready, which can help you support your community nutrition work. Now, while there are a number of PSE topic areas, our project, the Bcup project, focuses on 4. That's going to be healthy eating and childcare, farm to school, farmers markets, and healthy food retail, which we're going to walk through today with our website and the tools it houses. So let's go ahead and begin. So first, we would like to acknowledge the Bcup Partnership, which was established in 2014 to support people like you, community and public health practitioners, develop, implement, and sustain PSE interventions. To quickly introduce ourselves, my name is Jennifer King, and I am the Research Associate for Bcup. Karen Valeris, the project coordinator for Bcup, and I will be presenting this 4-part webinar series. Feel free to reach out to us at bcup@case.edu if you have any questions or concerns after today's training. Here's a quick look at the rest of our colleagues who make up the team here at Case Western Reserve University. We also have colleagues at the Ohio State University SNAP Ed program and the Ohio Department of Health's Creating Healthy Communities program. So during the registration process, we asked for you to identify your service area. And we see that majority of you attending today are coming from Northeast Ohio. We were also able to see that about 2% of you have the pleasure of serving all of Ohio. Now, whether you're new or know a bit about the PSE Ready tool, we want to share some useful acronyms with you. However, this is likely not the first time that you've heard of them. So first, the name of the project is called Bcup, or the Building Capacity for Obesity Prevention Project. Next, PSE, which you'll hear quite often during today's webinar, and that stands for Policy, System, and Environmental Interventions. And lastly is the PSE Ready, or the PSE Readiness Assessment and Decision Instrument, which is the tool the website is named after. However, it houses many other tools, which we will explore in today's webinar, again, highlighting healthy food retail. Before we jump into the webinar, we want to go over some housekeeping guidelines. During the webinar, your speakers will be muted, meaning we cannot hear you, but you are encouraged to use the chat or Q&A features to communicate with us and your fellow attendees. By clicking on either of these icons in the Zoom navigation bar, a window will open on the right side of your screen. Be sure to indicate if you want to send that chat message to the group, meaning everyone who is attending the webinar, or just Karen and myself. One of us will respond and help you troubleshoot any issues. Also, please make sure to log into your pseready.org account, as we will be navigating the site together. If you have not registered for an account, please use the link that has been shared in the chat box to do so. We advise you to use an email address that you check often, as the system will send your confirmation email here. The webinar is being recorded and will be available to view in the near future. Now, lastly, please note that while your computer screen will mirror ours, images may be affected by the size and/or dimensions of your personal device. Should you have any connectivity issues, please use the Zoom information posted in the chat box for your reference. You can also give us a call and we will help you troubleshoot. Now, before we get started, we would like to learn a little more about you. And in doing so, we're going to go ahead and get a poll together for you all. Okay. So our first poll question that we are going to ask is, what types of healthy food retail PSE initiatives are you currently working on? And we'll go ahead and give you about a minute or two to cast your votes. Okay, we're going to give you about another 10 seconds or so. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share these results with you. And we can see that a lot of you are doing a lot of different things, but quite a few of you are doing something that wasn't listed on within our poll for the types of PSE initiatives that you're currently working in. So if you would like to share with the group, meaning both panelists and attendees, what you're doing, you can do so in the chat box, and we can call those out throughout the webinar. Okay. So just to continue, we want to let you know that our work builds on the University of Minnesota's extension systems approaches for healthy communities, which is a really good resource to help you understand the context of PSEs and how many of you are already using them in your work. Additionally, a resource that really complements this work and the work of the University of Minnesota is one that you are probably all familiar with, which is the SNAP Ed Toolkit. It houses an interactive map that you can use to explore more about PSE approaches in the faith-based community, school and community gardens, work with farmers, retail, and farmers markets. We encourage you to check out these resources to further support your PSE work. Now, by the end of this webinar, we hope that you will become familiar with the website and resources, learn how to take an assessment and use the tailored report. But we want to let you know that these are umbrella objectives and that each webinar will highlight a different PSE area. So of course, we have healthy food retail today. Now to briefly review the agenda for today's 1-hour webinar. Karen will help you navigate through the website, its resource library of nearly 1,000 tools, guides, and handouts, our PSEs and action videos, and an assessment. This will be followed by my review of a tailored PSE report and its recommendations. We will leave the rest of the time, approximately 15 minutes, for Q&A. Now, Karen will get us started.
Good morning, everyone. As Jennifer mentioned, my name is Karen Valeris, and I'm the project coordinator for the Building Capacity of Obesity Prevention Project. Today, we'll be talking about healthy food retail, and I'll be walking you through the resources. So since we know that communities are all different, so are their capacities and readiness to change. So the PSEReadi.org website was created to support a various array of community nutrition programs in diverse areas across Ohio. So our website takes into account the idea that one intervention won't work in all environments and circumstances. So we hope that by using our website, the PSE Ready website, you'll have a chance to assess, plan, and act based on your particular community's readiness and capacity to do so. Ultimately, our goal is to support efforts across Ohio to help people make the healthy choice the easy choice for low-income populations in diverse environments. So today we're going to be using our case study video, which was entitled Advice from Corner Store Owners, that we encouraged everyone to watch before attending our webinar. If you haven't had a chance to do so, we strongly encourage you to watch it after our webinar today. So to quickly recap, the corner store owners spoke about the community members, about their initiatives bringing healthy options to their stores, such as fresh produce, and the different ways that they interacted with the community members at their store. They spoke about different ways that they engaged with the shoppers and spoke about the different produce that they have available for them to access. So I'd like to ask you, what are some of the ways that you engage your community members at your local corner store or food retailer? And you can answer in the chat box.
And please make sure that when you are sending in your response, you're making sure that it's going to all panelists and attendees so that your fellow webinar audience members can take a look at your response as well.
Okay, so one of our attendees says that they are working in other settings other than retail. So would you like to share what other settings that you work in and ways that you engage community members that way? Okay, so another attendee is saying that they do monthly outreach events, such as health screenings with community health workers, doing nutrition education, store tours, to see the healthy products in the store. So thank you so much for sharing that. Those are all really great ways to engage community members at your local retailer. Would anyone else like to share some of the initiatives that they're doing? Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And as we mentioned before, oh, sorry. Okay, so someone else mentioned that they're setting up a SNAP Ed program in a salvage store in the city. That's a really great idea and a great way to get people to be engaged at the store. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Okay, someone else mentioned that their team is, let's see, the team had a recent experience at a newer store, didn't have a lot of the materials that they needed for the food tasting, right? So that's another great way to engage your community shoppers. So they spoke to the retailer, letting them know that they're in the area and that they would shop there if they had more of the items, and then showed them a list of the approved items. That's a really great way to engage your corner store owners to be more to participate in healthy food retail initiatives. So that kind of goes into what we saw in the video. The store owners also use their time at the market to educate the customers. And you can tell that they were really engaged with the community, and they had some buy-in as well. So what are some of the ways that you've engaged corner store owners or small store owners to increase buy-in? So one of our attendees said that they spoke to them about having a list of approved foods that would encourage people to buy at their store. So that's a really great way. So are there any other initiatives that anyone else is doing to help retailers have more buy-in in the community? Okay, so someone mentioned that they hang their Celebrate Your Plate posters with a healthy recipe on them. So that's a great way to engage shoppers and also help store owners have more buy-in into the idea of offering healthy foods at their corner stores. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. So keeping these in mind, we're going to explore the website and its tools through the lens of these corner store owners that we saw in our video. So some of the key features that I'll be discussing today from our website are the extensive resource library, our PSC in Action video series, and the PSC Ready assessments currently available in 4 topic areas, as we mentioned before, which are healthy eating and childcare, farmers market, healthy food retail, and farm to school. So later on, my colleague Jennifer will speak more on how to use the PSC Ready report that you get after completing an assessment and how to use that to guide your immediate next steps in your PSC programming. So before I continue, I'd like to also continue to encourage all of our attendees to participate in the chat. It's a really great way to be interactive with our webinar, and we're always interested to hear what you have to say. So please don't be shy and make any comments that you feel like you need to make in our chat. Okay, so this is our landing page of our website. And for our walkthrough today, you can either you can follow along in your accounts to get a firsthand experience on how to use the tools, or you can just watch us navigate the website today, and then you can navigate it on your own in your leisure. So this is the landing page for our website, pscreadi.org. From this point, you can decide where you'd like to go to explore the different tools that we have in our website and the different pages. Regardless of the page that you're on, if you want to navigate to the main landing page that gives you a brief overview of what the project is, you'd be able to click on the logo on the top of the page and it will take you right back to this point. So going back to our video, let's say the corner store owners wanted to find new ways to market their fresh fruit and vegetable selections at their stores. Like we saw before, or the owner spoke about, having issues with distributors, or having difficulties finding distributors to source their fresh produce. They would be able to use the website to help them find new and engaging ways to do so. Let's first access the resource library by clicking on the PSE resources link at the top of the page. So clicking on this will take you to the main landing page of the PSE Resource Library. The PSE Resource Library is a large collection of web-based tools, websites, and other resources that we've gathered in our library to help it be a little bit easier to find resources that would be helpful in your community nutrition environments that you're working in. So as you can see, we have different features to our resource library and different ways that you can navigate the resources that are here. So if you look at the panel, we have it broken down first into the 4 PSC topic areas that we currently specialize in. So you would pick the one that you're interested in. But when you first come into the library, the resource, the default PSC topic area will be farmers market. So just be aware of that. And so it'll be showing you all of the resources that we currently have under farmers market. In order to change the PSC topic area to the one that you're interested in, you'd have to click on the topic area from the drop-down menu. So today we're going to be clicking on healthy food retail. And once you do that, it'll sift through all of the resources that are under the healthy food retail category. If you want to further narrow down the resources that you're able to look through at a time, you can choose a category type that will allow you to do so. So for today's walkthrough, we're just going to go through the healthy food resources to see what we can find. So as you can see here, our resources are sorted in alphabetical order. But if you wanted to further refine your search, you can always enter a key term in the search resources field. And then the resources that have that particular word in the title will pop up for you. So going back to our video, we were talking about one of the corner store owners. So perhaps they want to source new fruits and vegetables, and they're finding that their current distributors don't have those options that they want to source. Usually distributing companies usually will source larger markets, and so it can be difficult for smaller corner stores and retailers to find distributors that will have that will allow them to get sources from them, only because their orders are smaller, and the corner stores usually don't have much space to accommodate fresh produce at a time, or large amounts of fresh produce at a time. So the corner store owner would be able to use our resource library to find some tools and some websites that would give him some advice on how to navigate his distribution issues. So he would go through the categories and click on distribution and sourcing. And that would take him to a page that have different resources that he would be able to use to help solve his problem. So let's say he wanted to click on the first resource on the page, which is from Change Lab Solutions. Once he clicks on this tab, or rather this link, it'll open up into a new tab with the resource itself. So it won't move you from the library, from your point in the resource library, which is really nice, and you'll still be able to access the resource and navigate through it and see if that's something that would be useful in your work. So this website houses many resources to support those working to create equitable communities. And on this particular page, the store owner would be able to find a webinar that talks on various distribution challenges that other small retailers have faced and the different ways that they were able to navigate those challenges. So let's say the vendor really likes the webinar that he attended, was able to access from the website, and he wanted to save it for later. So we have different we have different options on the website to allow you to navigate the tools and to save them for later use. So with an account, he would be able to click on the heart icon, which is our bookmarking feature for our website. And over time, as he sifts through the resource library and continues to bookmark different resources, he would be able to create his own list, kind of like a curated list of resources from the larger resource library. So later on, it would be easier for him to then go back and navigate through those particular resources that he found helpful in his work. If he wanted to access them later on, he would just go under his My Accounts portion of the website to access those bookmarked resources, and that we will walk through later on. So let's say the store owner wanted to also share this resource with other store owners that may be facing the same distribution problems. So we've created PSEReadi.org with many options for directly sharing resources and information through the website by using different social media modalities. So we have Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn buttons on the bottom that he would be able to click on, and if he clicked on it, it would take him to a separate tab where it would embed the URL of that particular resource, and he could customize his messaging and then share it with his social media network. So we all know that using social media is a quick and easy way to share information nowadays, especially with colleagues that might be doing the same work that you're doing, but sometimes you work with people that don't have social media. We also allow the function to email these resources to your contact or your colleagues. So all you have to do is just click on the envelope icon, of a text field will pop up, and you'd be able to enter the information of the recipient that you want to receive the resource, and the resource link will be embedded in the email that they receive on the other end. So as we've mentioned before, our resource library has many resources that we believe would be helpful in your work, but I'm sure that there are many resources that you've used along your path that you've also found very valuable. If you feel like there's a resource that we do not have in our library, you can always send us recommendations for these resources to be added by clicking on the submission form. And once you click that, it'll open up into a pop-up and you can enter the information of your suggested resource. So that email will go directly to the team at Case Western, and we will continue to review these resources and add them to the library, as we are always continuously updating the resources that we provide there.
So just to jump in really quick, as Karen gets ready to navigate our PSEs in action, we want to make sure that you don't forget to use your chat box to ask us questions, ask questions of your fellow attendees. For the questions that you do ask of us, we will be answering them during the Q&A session. So anything that is not clear or anything that you may have been thinking about in your prior overview of the website, just send us a quick message and we will get back to you.
So we know that PSE work can be arduous sometimes, and it takes a lot of time to plan, and sometimes you feel like you're the only one that's having certain struggles implementing your programs. And sometimes you're putting on an initiative and you feel that maybe your efforts are not big enough to make real change in your community. So we've created the PSE in Action video series to help and inspire and encourage practitioners doing PSE work. It's always nice to see what other people are doing, and it can always give you an idea on what other things that you can try in your own work. So these case study videos are real stories from community nutrition practitioners and community members that are working in PSEs in counties and communities across Ohio. So to access this video series, we're going to navigate back to our landing page, and then we're going to click on the PSEs in Action link at the top of the page. So on this page, you'd be able to find the different playlists, and we've broken them up into the different PSE areas. And so the videos range from talking about different successes and different challenges that different practitioners have faced, giving tips on ways to be successful in your PSE work, giving advice to others that might be thinking about starting initiatives. And this is also where we met our two corner store owners, giving us advice on ways to engage the community and to have fresh fruits and vegetables and other produce at the store in order to not only drive market sales up, but also engage with the community and give the community members what they're looking for at their local grocer. So we encourage you to check some of them out after our webinar today, and especially the case study video that we recommended for today's training if you didn't get a chance to watch it before. So now we're going to quickly explore the policy systems and environmental readiness assessment and decision instrument, also known as the PSE READI for short. So this online tool will help you figure out the level of readiness and capacity that you're at currently to carry out community nutrition PSEs in your area. So taking the PSE READI will give you a tailored report at the end with 3 recommendations for immediate next steps that you can take in your PSE planning. So today we'll walk through the individual assessment for healthy food retail. So using our case study video as an example, maybe the store owners want to assess their capacity to expand the kinds of fresh produce they offer at their store. Maybe the community members are asking for different vegetables to be offered, and they're asking to have those needs met by their corner store owners. And so as the corner store owners mentioned in their video, meeting the needs is really important in order to engage with the community and also support and boost their market sales. So taking an individual assessment would help them measure their capacity to successfully do so. So to take the assessment, you would click on My Accounts in the toolbar from the landing page, and that would take you to the main dashboard where you can find all of the PSE READI assessments. So here on this page, you'll see 3 different sub-tabs below the main toolbar. So we're currently in My Assessments, where you'll find the 4 PSE topic area assessments. If you click on My Bookmarks, it'll take you to your favorited resources from the resource library. And here you'll be able to access kind of like your curated version of the larger PSE library to help you easily navigate the resources that pertain to your work. And then if you need to make any updates to your profile, let's say you change the county that you work in, or you want to change your password, you would just click on My Profile and you would be able to update the information there. So to walk through an assessment, we're going to navigate back to My Assessments, and then we're going to choose Healthy Food Retail for today's assessment and click Start to begin. So this is an example of what a registration page will look like for the assessment, and it looks the same for each assessment that you'll take, regardless of the PSE topic area. So the purpose of this registration page, or rather a profile page, is to kind of help you think of one area. So it might be a county or a zip code or a specific county that you're doing your work in while you're taking your assessment, in order to answer the questions that pertain to the work that you do there. So it's really important to think of one specific area, and it might be difficult because some of you do work in different areas, but in order to get the most tailored recommendation and resources that will help your work, you really need to think about one particular project that you're working in, one particular community. So let's quickly walk through the profile setup. So first, you're going to think about the county that you do your work, or maybe you're supporting other practitioners doing work in certain counties. So for example, if the corner store owner would to take an individual assessment today, they would choose perhaps their county where their store is located. So we'll choose Lorraine County for that. Next, you want to think about the specific target area or community that's within that larger county. So as mentioned before, you might use a census tract or a zip code, or maybe the city or the town that that is within that county that you currently work in order to assess that for your PSE Ready. And then finally, you're going to choose a name that's meaningful to you for your PSE Ready. Over time, if you take several, it can be hard to remember why exactly you took that PSE Ready assessment. And so perhaps you would choose to use the name of the store that you're working in or the community that you're working in. And then we always recommend you to put the date that you started your assessment as part of your name as well. So as we mentioned before, everyone is going to be starting at a different point in their PSE journey. And because of that, you might start alone. You might be working on an initiative on your own and then decide to work with others going forward. The PSEReadi.org website and also the assessments allows you the flexibility to assess your level of readiness, right, whether you're working as an individual or whether you're working in a group. So to help you decide whether you should take the PSE Ready as an individual or as a team, we created a decision tree that will help guide your choice. So if you click on this link, it pops up into another tab with the decision tree and asks you several questions that helps you figure out whether you're doing your work alone or with a group, and then you can decide then whether you want to take the PSE Ready as an individual or a team. We've also gave you a list of potential team members for suggestions on how to build your team. So let's say you started an initiative and you really want to get other people on board. It'll help you identify who you might want to ask to join your team. So for our assessment today, we're going to take it as an individual. And although today's webinar is focused solely on the individual assessment, we will be doing trainings later on in the future, focusing on taking team assessments and how to go about creating your team and using the tailored report from that. So please stay tuned. So once you click submit button, this is what it would look like for your assessment. And each assessment looks the same regardless of the PSE topic area. However, the instructions at the top, especially with the examples of the different PSE projects, will be tailored to that PSE area. So as you can see here, We have some examples such as, providing healthier foods in vending machines or healthy checkout aisles. And your PSE topic, or rather your PSE project, may not fall under these examples, but we all know that there's a variety of different PSE projects that you could be doing under healthy food retail. So this assessment should take you about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how quickly it takes you to take the assessment. We do encourage people to take their time to answer the questions, and you can always return back if you do not really, if you have a question about a certain item on the assessment, you can always return to complete the assessment once you've gotten that answer. We also have several answer choices, including don't know and the not applicable options. So don't know should be used, let's say, if you're not sure if a question pertains to your work, and not applicable is when you definitely know that a question does not portray what you do in your work. But we do recommend that you use those two options sparingly, because when you do so, it will give you a less tailored report. So we encourage you to use options from not at all to extremely. And then if you do have a question about a certain item that's asked on our assessment, you can always return when you have the answer to that question. So there are no right or wrong answers. This assessment is basically just helping you figure out where you currently are in your work. So you just want to answer the best that you can, so that you can get the best tailored report that will help you with your work. However, you do need to answer all of the questions in order to submit your assessment and then to get your report. So today we're just going to click on Save and Finish, but we're going to review a assessment that was previously done, just in the interest of time. So as we're covering many details on psereadi.org today, you may have some questions that come up after the webinar. So we have an FAQ section that has much more information on how we develop the PSE Ready tool, how to go about creating an account, how to take the assessment as an individual or a team, and the kinds of information that you would get from your report.
So before we go into the our FAQ section, we want to ask you about the different types of partners that you work with on your healthy food retail PSE initiatives. So we're going to open up this poll for about 30 seconds or so, just so that we want to make sure that we are ending our webinar as close to time as possible. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close our poll, and then we're going to share the results with you. So we see that a lot of you don't have partners yet. So by using the decision tree as well as the potential team member sheet that can be found on the FAQ section of our website, you should be able to kind of figure out who else might be a good partner for you to work with on PSE projects. And we also want to thank one of our attendees for sharing that they work with a food pantry site. So that's really an interesting place that you can kind of see as a partner. If there are other places or other partners that you all may have, please feel free to share that in our chat box as we continue with the webinar. So now that we have reviewed the resource and assessment features of the website, we're going to go ahead and review that tailored report that you would normally receive once an assessment has been completed. So we're going to go back up to our landing page, which again is the starting point of the Bcup website. So we're going to go back to our assessments by clicking on My Account, at the top of the page. And below that bar of the 4 PSE areas, you'll see that a list of assessments have either been started or saved. By looking under the completed column, you will see one of the following. You will see that the word started, meaning that an assessment has been saved and that it needs to be finished. So again, maybe you weren't able to answer all of the questions completely, or maybe you just ran out of time. This is a really easy way to just save your assessment, and you can go back to the same spot that you were so that you can finish it. You might also see a date, and that's going to be the date that you finished and submitted the assessment. So it's, again, important to record the date that you actually started the assessment so you know where to pick back up at. From this list, you will be able to perform 3 tasks. You can also retake an assessment, which will take you back to that 3-step profile process to name and then start a new assessment. You can choose to share the report, which will open a share assessment text box, and you can share that with your colleagues by entering their emails. Lastly, you can view your report by clicking on the actual name of the assessment, which we would do for an already completed assessment for today's webinar. Now, please remember that a personalized report is generated immediately after you click Save and Finish. However, in today's webinar, Karen and I demonstrated how you can save an assessment to be completed at a later date or time. Once opened, you will see the name of the assessment, the email associated with your account, and the date of completion, all auto-populated at the top of the report. You can choose to share this assessment or this document, with colleagues by email, or print it out for your records by using the icon on the right. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 2 sections on your report, starting with recommendations. As you select the recommendation that you would like to view from the collapsed list, you will be given advice on where to begin or continue your work in your PSD area of focus. The related resources, which will be listed below, are referenced in the recommendation, and they're often referenced with page numbers and can be opened similarly as you saw in the resource library, which you can also get back to by clicking the link at the top of the report that says Explore Additional Resources. So in addition to the tailored recommendations on your report, you will also see or receive a detailed profile for the county in which your target area or community lies. By simply clicking on the data profile that you would like to view from the collapsed list, you can use this information to highlight areas of either strength or identify challenges that may be considered when you're planning your PSEs with your organization or your stakeholders. And it might also be really helpful and useful to use this information in grant writing and work plan development, again, based on your community's readiness and capacity for change. Included below the actual profile of the resources are the resources, that we use to gather the data points. I would definitely encourage you to further explore these data points for additional county and state level data. Now, as we transition back to our PowerPoint slides, we know that that was a lot of information to cover for the PSE Ready website. However, we want to just recap the features that you can use it for, which includes the PSE resources. So that's going to be our library of resources, as well as the PSEs in action to help you generate new ideas. You can use the Ready assessment to determine the starting point for your PSE programs. And you can use the PSE Ready reports to guide your decisions on PSE plans and help actually put those plans into action. Now, collectively, these features will help you assess readiness and capacity for change, plan those programs and interventions, and actively implement them in your community. So I know that you might be asking, what do I do next? Over the next week, we encourage you to continue exploring the PSE Ready website and become familiar with its features. We'd like for you to share 1 to 3 resources within your network of colleagues. We definitely want you to take an individual assessment, or if you're really feeling up to it, a team assessment, and then review the report and share it with your colleagues. Not only will these exercises help you train your brain on the use of the PSE Ready website, they're also a great way to build confidence in your ability to implement PSEs. Now, similar to our last webinar, which covered farm to school, we would now like to invite our guest speaker to share a little bit about her experience in implementing healthy food retail PSEs and highlight some great tools that you can use anywhere along your PSE journey. So Brianna McIntosh is our guest speaker, and she comes with a lot of knowledge as she is the project coordinator for food systems and community engagement under the REACH project, which is the Racial and Equity Approaches to Community Health Project, here at Case Western Reserve University's Prevention Research Center in for Healthy Neighborhoods. So let me make sure I get unmuted to talk to you guys. Okay, Bree, can you hear us?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, thanks for having me today. So as Jen said, my name is Brianna McIntosh, and I am the Food Systems and Nutrition Project Coordinator for CDC-funded REACH program here in Cuyahoga County. Over the last 4 years, through a collaborative process with local partners and community leaders, we have built a network of over 15 corner stores across the east side of Cleveland. This initiative falls under the umbrella of Health Improvement Partnership Cuyahoga and is implemented here by the Prevention Research Center for Healthy Neighborhoods at Case Western. So after taking my healthy food retail assessment in PSE Ready, I was given 3 recommendations. The first was to work to assess corner store owners' perceptions of increasing food options for sale. The second was to begin to connect distribution and sourcing systems with corner stores. And the last one was to work to support corner store owners in improving the profitability of healthy food retail. Taking those recommendations into account, as you can see here, I wanted to find resources in the PSE library that focus on distribution and sourcing and marketing and outreach. The first resource that I found very helpful that Karen actually showed earlier was the Addressing Distribution Challenges webinar from ChangeLab Solutions. After listening to this webinar and reviewing the resources on the page, I was able to find some general themes and lessons learned from urban and rural initiatives around distribution. There were also some great suggestions from the Shop Healthy NYC team that match some of the things that we've done here in Cuyahoga County, but also some new ideas that I want to start working on. The second resource that I found really helpful was the action steps and guidelines around distribution in Chapter 7 of the CDC Healthy Retail Guide, titled Improving Distribution Systems for Healthier Retail. Another thing on the PSE Ready tool that I had never seen before was the wholesale produce companies in Ohio database. So these resources around distribution have been shared with our team, and we are going to be reviewing and pulling relatable action steps from them to begin introducing them into our work. The last resource that I wanted to highlight that I found in the PSE library was a toolkit titled Building the Business Case for Produce at Convenience Stores. This resource goes hand in hand with the distribution information that the library offered me. In our first REACH funding cycle, a large lesson learned was that we did not have a strong business model or business education for store owners around selling healthier items. We are very fortunate to be able to continue our Healthy Corner Store program here under our new REACH funding cycle. And our main focus this first year is to explore, assess, and introduce distribution networks. So I was very pleased to see that my assessment related to the things that we said we would work on in our next year. I will be incorporating these resources from the PSE library into our work, and I really appreciate this resource. So thank you for having me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions in the Q&A portion of the webinar.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brianna, for joining us today and also staying on with us to answer any questions that our attendees might have. So please, again, webinar attendees, feel free to ask us any questions, either in the chat box or using the Q&A feature. And those questions can be for Karen and myself or for Brianna as well. We're really hoping that having Brianna here today to talk about her experiences with PSEs and being able to highlight resources that you can find on our website will boost your confidence to either start or revamp a PSE intervention. In a follow-up email, I'll be sure to not only mention the title of all of the resources that Brianna covered today, but give you the links for those as well. And again, they can be found in our resource library. Now, before we transition to our Q&A session of the webinar, we would like for you all to share one word that describes how you feel about using the PSE Ready after today's website walkthrough, excuse me. So in previous webinars, we have had some of our attendees share words like inspired, enthusiastic. We have someone who just mentioned that they are intrigued. As a quick reminder, as you send in your responses, can you make sure that you're sending them to both panelists and attendees so that everyone can see the powerful words that you all are sharing? Great, so we're seeing some really exciting words, excited in itself, being able, being equipped, hopeful, encouraged, tentative, confident, more confident. That's really great. And we want you to certainly continue to send in those inspiring responses as we go through our Q&A session if you all have any questions. So again, after today's webinar, it is really our hope that you use the PSE Ready to develop, implement, and sustain community nutrition programs that can help make the healthy choice the easy choice. So now as we go ahead and open the floor for our Q&A session, we didn't see that we had any questions asked of us in our chat box, with exception of the security feature that was on the top of the page when we were in the psereadi.org website. We want to let you know that we are working on that through Case Western Reserve University, and we are hoping to get that fixed very soon. If there are any questions that you may not want to ask us in the chat box, please feel free to go ahead and send us an email at bcup@case.edu, or you can send a question directly to Brianna. And again, I will include her contact information in a follow-up email as well. So we actually do have a question that came in. It says that one of our pushbacks that my team got from a retailer in our area was that they were providing food that people were buying, and the healthier options were going to waste. The retailer mentioned that people weren't taking free apples. How can we help him get from resistance to partnership? Brianna, are you still available for us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, this might be something that you've actually had a lot of experience with doing and getting retailers to kind of get over that hump of resistance from community members, or even the retailer having resistance to offering healthier options.
Yeah, so when we first started this, we worked with the Food Trust, and they have a lot of great examples around like around sales and things that store owners can do to push sales. So there's an example, like every time a kid comes in to buy a bag of hot Cheetos or something, the store owner would give them an apple or an orange with their purchase. And then And we tried that in a couple of stores, and like Christina's saying, it didn't really work. So something that we started doing at our outreach events at the stores is we would walk before the outreach event, we would go through the store and look at the healthy items that were available. And we would work with the store owner to see what type of recipe could we sort of create out of the things in the store. And then at the outreach event, we would highlight that recipe so that the residents would see, oh, all of these things I need for this recipe are in my local corner store. And at the same time, it encourages the store owner to keep those things stocked and fresh, so that they can, the customers can keep coming back because they know that their store is now offering those items.
Thank you so much for that feedback and giving real examples of what you have already been able to do and how that has been successful. So that was really awesome. Just a couple of other questions that you might be having that we want to make sure that we cover for you all is how often you should take the PSE Ready assessment. We recommend that you take it every 6 months whenever you feel like you've made progress in your PSE work or you have made changes to your PSE programming. This way, you're making sure that you're assessing your work at its current phase or stage and that you get new recommendations to further help you progress along in the planning and implementation of those projects. Another question might be, if you aren't able to open a resource that is either in the library or your report. No worries. There are definitely times where we might have a broken link for a resource, or the organization that is hosting that actual resource might relocate it on their website. We are continuously updating our broken links and do a review of our resource library. So if you find a link that no longer works, it will be really helpful for you to send us an email with that resource information to help us along with that process and making sure that we get that resource that we know that you want to have and that you need back up on the website. Now, we saw that with some of our attendees, they may not do a lot of work in the PSE area that's been highlighted, and that's absolutely not a problem. We certainly still want you to take the assessments in all of the PSE areas because the assessments were created to, of course, assess where you are in your PSE work. Having prior experience in that area is not necessary in order to take the PSE Ready. Your report will reflect this and will give you the 3 immediate first steps to take in your planning efforts. Now, lastly is how often are the state and county level resources updated? We always aim to update this information annually as part of our resource maintenance process. But again, if you want to get the most up-to-date data for your county or state, just make sure that you click those resource links at the bottom of your report and you can use that information more readily. So we have come to the close of our webinar. We really hope that you have enjoyed the presentation, and we look forward to having you join us next time to learn more about the PSE Ready tool and how to achieve success and address challenges related to farm to school. Now, for many of you, you may have already registered for the Farm to School webinar, but please be reminded that it occurred the same date that we had very cold weather, so it has been rescheduled to Tuesday, March 12th at 11 a.m. And you will receive a registration link in an email in the near future to go ahead and sign up for that. We'd also like to invite you to learn more about the work of our colleagues on the Fresh Link project. They are hosting a statewide ambassador training next month on the, oh gosh, today is March 1st. So it is this month on the 22nd. I will send you all a flyer to find out more about this event. As we wrap up, please be sure to take 5 minutes to help us improve our future PSE Ready webinars and trainings. The survey will open up automatically after we close the webinar, so please do not close your Zoom portal. You'll be taken right to the survey. We want to go ahead and acknowledge the Bcup project funders. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact the Bcup team at bcup@case.edu. We will again give you Brianna's contact information. And remember that the webinar is being recorded, and we are hoping that it will be accessible in the near future. We are going to go ahead and conclude the PSE Ready series webinar number 4, Healthy Food Retail. Again, we thank you for joining us, and we hope that you all have a great day. Oh, a great weekend as well.